She had always been comfortable in the presence of weapons, a strange sense of peace settling over her whenever she was on a firing range, or, in this case, the sterile, organized chaos of a military armory. The smell of CLP gun oil and cold steel was a familiar perfume. Today, her task was simple: a deep clean and inspection of a precision armory, a job that required patience and an intimate knowledge of the machinery. Her name was Corporal Elena Vance, and for the past 3 years, she had been the quiet backbone of the Naval Special Warfare Unit's weaponry, the woman responsible for ensuring the rifles that went into the field were more reliable than a heartbeat. She worked methodically, her movements efficient and practiced. The rifle on the mat before her was a Macmillan TAC-50, a behemoth of a sniper system chambered in the devastating .50 BMG round. It was a tool designed to reach out and touch someone from over a mile away, a fact that Elena knew better than most. As she ran a boar snake through its heavy barrel, her mind wasn't on the weapon's lethality, but on the intricate dance of its internal components, the precise tolerances that made it an instrument of incredible accuracy. She was checking the headspace, ensuring the bolt locked up perfectly, her fingers feeling for the slightest imperfection. The heavy steel door to the armory hissed open, and the air in the room seemed to change, charged with an invisible energy. A group of SEALs filed in, their presence filling the space with a low hum of conversation and the rustle of tactical gear. They were a blur of desert-tan uniforms and close-cropped hair, a tight-knit brotherhood returning from a training evolution. Elena didn't look up. She knew her place in the unspoken hierarchy. She was the armorer, the ghost who kept their tools sharp. They were the warriors. There was a respectful distance, a professional courtesy that seldom involved more than a nod. One of them, however, paused. He wasn't looking at her, but at the rifle. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Thorne was a man carved from granite and salt water, his face a roadmap of harsh sun and squinting into a 1,000-mile stare. He was the unit's senior sniper, a man whose name was spoken in hushed tones in the community. He had eyes the color of a winter sky, cold and assessing. He watched Elena for a long moment, observing the way her hands moved over the weapon. It wasn't the detached assembly of a technician, it was the knowing touch of a lover. She wasn't just cleaning it, she was communing with it. He stepped closer, his shadow falling over her workbench. "That's a sweet shooter," he said, his voice a low rumble that cut through the hiss of the air conditioning. "Best in the house." Elena finally looked up, her gaze steady and unblinking. "It is now," she replied, her voice calm. "The trigger was a little heavy for my taste. I polished the sear surfaces. It breaks cleaner now." Thorne's eyebrow arched slightly. An armorer who customized triggers based on personal feel? That was unusual. Most just followed the technical manual. "For your taste?" he questioned, a hint of challenge in his tone. "You shoot this?" The question hung in the air. It was a simple question, but loaded. It was one thing to maintain a weapon, another entirely to master it, especially one as unforgiving as a TAC-50. Elena looked back down at the rifle, her fingers tracing the stock. "On occasion," she said, her voice quiet as if sharing a secret she wasn't sure she wanted to give up. The other SEALs had gone quiet, sensing a shift in the room's atmosphere. They knew Thorne well enough to know he was intrigued, a rare occurrence. He leaned against a nearby rack of M4s, folding his arms. "An occasion like what? Familiarization fire?" Familiarization fire was the standard for support personnel. A few rounds downrange to understand the weapon's report and recoil, nothing more. Elena hesitated for a fraction of a second. "No, sir. Qualification." She set the bolt back into the rifle with a decisive click. "Long-range qualification." A low whistle came from one of the other SEALs. Long range for a TAC-50 meant distances that would make most people's vision blur. Thorne's interest was now fully piqued. This quiet, unassuming corporal was a puzzle. "And what does your qual card say, Vance?" he asked. She met his gaze again, and for the first time there was something else in her eyes. Not defiance, but a deep, quiet certainty. "It says I'm current out to 1,500 meters," she stated. It was a respectable distance, putting her in the top percentile of any military shooter. But Thorne, a master of reading people, saw it. A flicker, a micro-expression that suggested she was downplaying her ability. He decided to push. 1,500 is good, he conceded, his voice deliberately casual. "But this rifle," he said, nodding towards the TAC-50, "is capable of much more. What's your actual effective range?" The question was a probe, designed to see if she would stick to the official story or reveal the truth. The silence stretched for a beat. 2 beats. Elena's hand rested on the stock of the rifle. The world outside the armory, the distant shouts from a training ground, the rumble of a truck, seemed to fade away. In that moment, it was just her, the weapon, and the man who understood what it truly meant to reach across an impossible distance. "My actual effective range," she said, her voice dropping so low that Thorne had to lean in to hear her, "is classified."